Now, a worldwide Italian credit management operator has entered the African market. To date, SACE has achieved 490 million of new commitments in Africa as part of its Africa program, with 65 transactions assessed in the last 5 months. The sector is addressed to cover oil and gas, infrastructure and transportation. Now, the group will use South Africa as the entry point in southern and sub-Saharan Africa. And joining us to tell us more about this venture is Mr. Michael Creighton, who is the head of SACE Group based in South Africa, with a focus on expanding the group's business activities in sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you very much for joining us here on Rendezvous Africa, sir. What's the core function of your business?
SACE is a credit management company. It's what is traditionally known as an export credit agency. It is 100% owned by the Italian Ministry of Economy and Finance, and its primary function is to assist Italian-linked companies in the investment in regions, but in our case particularly Africa, to encourage Italian companies to do business in Africa, to export product, export plants, and basically to look at investing in Africa.
Why Africa?
As I said, it's a worldwide company that focuses on the whole world, but our particular responsibility is on Africa. And really we've seen a lot of development in Africa over the last 10 years, a lot of progress being made in Africa, and we therefore see that it is a market that has a lot of potential, and we feel that it's important for Italy to be part of that future potential.
Now, what sectors are you focusing on here?
It's a range of sectors, and obviously the sectors have to have a link back to what Italy is good at. But strong areas of focus are oil and gas, infrastructure, transportation, chemicals, steel, a whole machinery, so a whole range of different sectors.
Now, the European-Africa investing and trade relationship at the moment, what is that, and how are you going to help reinforce that? You know, when you talk about investments and the African continent, it's always said, and you always hear about it, but what is it that is being done by SACE that's going to be different to the benefit, really, of Africa?
Okay, you're correct in saying that historically it's been very small, and in our case of linking it back to Italy, less than 2% of Italian exports traditionally has gone to sub-Saharan Africa. We do see this growing at approximately 8% moving forward. Our role is to try and assist that. Obviously, there's still a lot of risk in trading and investing in Africa, and many Italian companies notice that risk, both from a political point of view and a commercial point of view, and also logistically it is a difficult area to do business in. But with SACE's role, we provide financial guarantees so that we will protect investments if there is a political event that erodes the value of the investment. And we can also issue payment guarantees to facilitate the raising of finance. So if a company in Africa is looking at purchasing a plant from an Italian supplier, we can issue the bank with guarantees that the payments will be made. So
how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you guarantee that a company will deliver on their promises?
Okay, it's part of a credit assessment process that we follow. So we would look at the company that's operating in the African country. We would visit them if required. We would find out exactly what they're doing. If it's a project that's involved, we would analyze the project. And through that assessment process, we will determine a risk factor. And if we feel that there's potential, then we would look at issuing guarantees on that particular project.
Now, is SACE responsible for ensuring that this relationship is mutually beneficial? Or are you just focusing on looking at the European or Italian side of this relationship?
No, it's definitely we look at both. So certainly we look at trying to help Italian companies, but a lot of the time, and our particular focus is on sort of larger values and medium to long-term projects. So it has a longer-term focus. So it's not, for example, the export of shoes, which is a short-term type trade transaction. This is where it's development, so a company that wants to upgrade their plant, or they want to develop an agricultural plant in an important area within the community, and they need infrastructure development or equipment to assist in that production, then that's where we fit in.
So you're talking investment here on a large scale, really? Definitely,
and just to use some examples, recently we assisted a transaction in Angola and another one in Nigeria, both in excess of $200 million. So it's quite sizable transactions.
What then happens? An African company is looking at the Italian market and looking at a beneficial relationship for themselves and also for the market itself. How do they then go about doing this? Do they come to you and say, this is what we're looking at, this is what we want to do, and you do the rest for them? Or do you just guarantee them the money and guarantee, the delivery therefore?
Obviously, every transaction is different, and there's multiple ways of going about it. But certainly, we are available to talk to African companies that are interested in doing business with an Italian counterparty. Our office has been set up in the Italian Trade Commission's office, and the Italian Trade Commission in Johannesburg is also responsible for sub-Saharan Africa. And jointly between SACE and the Italian Trade Commission, we try and look to put companies together and to try and assist them in moving forward and building a potential business relationship. We also have been in contact with numerous banks that are operating in the region. And the banks are very much aware of our products, and generally, most of the time, our products are actually purchased by the banks. So there are a lot of banks are functioning on wanting to provide finance, provided they can get a guarantee of some form from SACE.
How long has the project been running?
Our African program started in January 2006.
Okay.
At the launch of the African program, we opened up cover in an additional 14 countries within Africa that we previously were not covering. But the office in Johannesburg, responsible for the sub-Saharan African region, is very new. It was opened up in the middle of June.
All right, and January 2006 to date, how many African countries are you seeing, African companies are you seeing coming out and actually having an interest and the capacity to provide and produce all that is needed to carry out, the relationship and guarantee what is needed for delivery, so to speak?
Since January 2006, we have facilitated financing transactions totaling $600 million. Okay. So it's quite sizable. This year alone, we have assessed 65 different transactions. And generally, the trigger point is a combination of either the Italian supplier or the Italian investor that's come to us with an interest, but also we are networking and working with African companies that are also interested in doing business with Italian counterparties. So it's a bit of a joint approach of growing the transactions.
All right, thank you very much for talking to us there, Mr. Michael Creighton, Head of SACE South Africa. We do thank you for joining us here on Rendezvous Africa.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a break, come back with the program just after that. Don't go away.